My name's John Ferri. I'm here at the University of Delaware in Georgetown, and I'm going to give a little talk about knife safety and care, and just different types of knives and how they're used in the meat business. First of all, I've been a meat cutter since 1976, and well, with different knives, there's different sizes for different functions. Just like these are older knives that are ground down, and you know, a lot of people throw them out, but these are excellent for going around small bones, as far as boning out necks and cutting around joints. Some of these are, say, 6-inch knives, which are really nice for trimming meats. This here is a 10-inch steak knife, which is great for cutting boneless meats. This here, which I happen to have, is a cheese knife. It's not real sharp because you don't want it real sharp, but what you try to do is keep it warm, so this way it cuts through cheese much easier. Here's another. This is a 12-inch steak knife, and I left it wrapped because this is how I bring most of my knives home, and I'll wrap them in plastics, which is protective and also helps keep them a little bit cleaner. And anytime you have knives that are sharp, what you try to do is try to keep them away from any other hard surfaces. And even if you just put them in, say, plastic covers like this after you wash them, or even if this is probably about 15 years old, and that's what this one goes in. Even if you got a piece of cardboard and wrapped it, your knife is safe, it keeps it clean, and it also keeps it from being nicked, because all the little nicks add up. And you'll go into someone's house and you'll see, you know, an expensive knife like this. It's a Henkel's, and this probably sells for about $120. You'll see this laying in a metal sink, which then they say, oh, I can never keep knives sharp. Well, they can't because they're not caring for them correctly. These knives over here are what they call slicers, or basically ham slicers or roast beef slicers. And they're long and they're very thin. This way it actually cuts down on the suction of the slices, because generally you're cutting something that has been cooked and it's a wetter product. It's not as firm. And this right here is called a Granton edge, which it eliminates, it breaks the surface, and this way that really cuts back on the suction. And out of all these knives here, this is probably the least expensive, but this is probably one of my favorite for carving. It's just so flexible and stays so sharp. It's really nice to work with, and the handle is extremely comfortable for my hands. And here I have two different cleavers. This is more like a splitting cleaver, that what they would do is, if the carcass was hanging, it would come right down and they would actually split right down the backbone with it. And this is what we would call basically just a regular cleaver, and it's basically for cutting through bones. A lot of lamb, we never used to run it through the saw, we do now, but this would cut through the bones and does a real nice job of it. And everyone thinks that these holes here were actually put to hang it. That's a secondary purpose. When we used to be breaking beef, is people don't realize it, but just to keep the animal straight, they would put wooden skewers in it, because while it was cooling down so the animal wouldn't turn. And if you just put the skewer right in there and just pull, it comes right out and it grabs. And of course, they get banged up over the years. This right here is probably about 70 or 80 years old. And this one here is probably only 30. So Now, when you cut something, when you cut a piece of meat on a saw that has a bone in it, generally there's bone dust, and that's what this is called. It's called a duster. What you do is you scrape the bone dust off. Not only does it make the product look nicer, but also is bone and fat deteriorate much faster than the meat. So this way it helps to keep more of the bacteria off the surface of the meat, and it gives you a longer case life to the various products that you're selling. Here is a knife, and here is a hook that you'll use with the breaking knife. So this way when you're breaking beef, you can pull with that, because there's no way you can grab it with your hands, but you can grab it with this, and this way it frees up your hand, and your hand is away from the knife. This is a cut-resistant glove, which it works nice, but they're always kind of wet, and they work real nice, and especially for people doing seafood. You have a lot of flexibility with it, and the only thing it does is you won't have as much feeling on the product. Now, this right here is a stainless steel mesh glove, which it's totally cut proof. You cannot get cut. And the only thing you have to be careful of with this is if you're working with a saw, you're not supposed to use them, because if this ever got caught in the saw, it would just pull the rest of your hand. But you get used to them, and it's just part of
like a coat of mail.
Exactly, part of safety. These are sharpening steels. I have several different ones. This one was probably from the early 70s, and they get smoother the more you use them. And we're not supposed to have wood handles in meat rooms anymore. Most of these are from my house. But to actually sharpen a knife, you use the steel to sharpen the edge. This is called a flat steel, which it's supposed to improve the more surface contact. This right here is a diamond steel, which it's a rougher steel. This right here, it's a regular steel, but it's newer and it's very coarse. And a lot of people have probably never seen this, but this is actually ceramic steel. It never smooths out. It never gets smoother. What you do is, if you just keep washing it off, and the gray you see in there is actually metal that it takes off the knives as you're steeling them. So, and to steel a knife, you'll see meat cutters just going like this. And what they're actually doing is, on the edge, it's a little wire edge, and you're trying to straighten it out. And you'll see chefs on TV, they'll go once, twice, and that's absolutely doing nothing. It's absolutely doing nothing. You have to do this enough and hard enough to get the metal on the knife warm. And when it's warmer or hot, it'll straighten out much faster. So if they do that twice, they're doing nothing. But if, and I think a lot of them do it because it's like, I should be doing something right now. But it's, you'll see the meat cutters sharpen it like this because we're turning, there's no room. But to start out, I always recommend to people putting it down in a place where it will not move. Put your thumb here, so this way you can feel the angle and come straight down. That's all you're doing, is riding from here to the tip.
And the blade isn't facing your hand.
Correct, yes. And it's the same exact thing. The size of the knife really doesn't matter. You can take a knife like this, but just that you're doing more of an angle.
Now, do you wait for it to get hot and then you know?
Well, after about 5 or 6 times. Now, you can't actually, sometimes you can't actually feel it, but if you're working and you're up like this, you can, sometimes you can smell it getting warm. And, you know, a lot of people say, oh, no, you can't. But, you know, once in a while you do. And here, you can feel that the knives are very, very sharp. It's...
Can you do a serrated?
You can do a serrated, but what you have to do with a serrated is, let me get this one here. I've always done serrateds like this. I'll hold the knife like this, go up and down them individually. And then what I'll do is, now, the back end is flat. So I'll, after I did the whole ones to one side, I'll go like that. And you can actually feel that it's actually, you know, has more teeth and more grit. So this way. Is there any other questions? Or I know we went through it pretty fast, but the only one type of knife which I don't have here is a paring knife, because I pretty much use this as a paring knife. To me, it's very comfortable, and to me, a small knife, it's just too small to work with.
Want to explain the cutting board you have there?
Yes. This is a cutting board which I found over in the corner. It's a plastic cutting board, which they're nice, and this one here has rubber on the edges, which it will not slip, which is real important, especially cutting something wet like meats and all. And what I like about the white plastic boards, they're easy to scrub off. They're so much easier. And you can pour bleach on there if you wanted to totally sanitize them, or any other sanitizing agent, and they rinse off, and it will not hold a smell. That's very important. And you know, as far as using knives, you'll see just about every kitchen has a French knife. Most people don't know how to actually use a French or a chef's knife. And the basic thing is to make sure your fingers are back and you rock it like this. You'll see too many people chopping. You don't want to chop, you want to rock it. And this way, things always just a constant motion. But the most important thing is, what you want to do is, you don't want to be cutting where your hand can be in the way of wherever the knife can go. Make sure your hand is not there. That's the most important thing. If your knife is going to slip, make sure it's down on the board, out to the side where there is absolutely nothing. And that's probably one of the most basic things there are about knife safety and handling and stuff. So, but
what about glass cutting boards? Like, I keep one in front of my toaster oven, and I often, when I'm going to cut vegetables, you know, will just do that instead of pulling one out.
They're very easy to clean. They're nice to take care of, but it's actually really damages the knife. Because, see, even these boards here will damage a knife much more than a wood cutting board. I miss cutting on wood because your knives stay so much sharper and it's just easier. But these are so much more convenient to clean. But the glass cutting board really, really take a toll on the edge of the knife. So, and you know, a lot of the knives are being made, you know, overseas, but I still, you know, it's in regards to you get what you pay for with knives, and a sharper knife is a lot safer than a dull one, because a sharper knife, you have to put less energy into pushing it through, because once you push a dull knife through, it's eventually going to go through, and it's going to keep going because you can't bring your hand back in time. So that's where a lot of people get in trouble. So,
Deboning,
to debone,
both fish and meat.
fish and meat. To me, fish is really easy. What I would do is you cut it in half, fillet it, and then I always just, road the bone, and it's just, you can actually just use just the tip of your knife if you want.
But it's the same knife for fish as it is for meat, for deboning?
Yes, you can. You want something a little more flexible than this. It's something like this would even be a little bit too stiff for that. So, and for skinning a fish, the best way is to just cut a little piece, or grab a paper towel, grab the tail, cut down to it, and just pull it. And it's still the easiest way. So, we had some other questions about sharpening, and this is a kit that I bought, and it's called a Lansky Sharpening Kit, and it works very well. It just takes time, but what you do is you put your knife in here, and then you go through the different, these are diamond stones, and you go through the different series, and what you do is,
Don't bleed now.
and what you do is you figure out which angle you want. It comes with instructions, and what you do is you're riding the blade up and down both sides, and then you go from rough, and then you finish up with the smoothest ones, and then you come out with a blade that is real sharp. So, no, I'm not actually.
No, I mean, but we
Oh,
have to talk
yes.
about the oil.
Yes, and you could put, it comes with the little bit of oil that you put on there, and that is just to keep the metal from gliding on the diamond stones, because you don't want it just taking off too much. And then, but most meat cutters, you'll see sharpening knives like this, because they're used to it. And what you do is you want to just constantly do this until the knife gets warm and you're actually straightening out the angle on the edge. Basically, it's most of the time it's curved, and what you want it straight, and this way there's less resistance. But what I recommend to people is putting your steel down on something that does not move, put their thumb on the back so they can feel the correct angle, and then ride it like this. And once you get used to it, you can actually feel that it's the correct angle. And yeah, there. If someone wants to.
Now, you're not going up and down. You're going this side and this side, but you're not doing, can you do it very slowly?
Sure. I'm just going down.
The length of the blade.
Yes. You start with the back and go to the tip. See now, here, you're grabbing the knife and you're going, it's the same thing. Now these steels they're tapered here. The reason why they're tapered is so this way to help you get the right angle. This is the proper way you should do it, but it's a lot more chance of getting cut like this. That's why I recommend
It's just breaking that.
putting it down on a surface that will not move. So, and if you want, wear it off while you're doing it. There's, you can never be.
Never be too safe.
Exactly. So.
Well, did you say that it really isn't good to store knives in a block?
No, you can, as long as they're not rubbing up against something. you know, this is a Forstner or Victorinox knife, and they're from Switzerland. These are, hands down, my favorite brand of working knives. And as a matter of fact, they still come up #1 for the test kitchen.
Yeah.
And you see them use them all the time, and that's one reason why I got interested in the test kitchen, because I figured, you know, they know their knives, and it's, you know.
Do you use scissors?
I don't use scissors. You know, even with cutting poultry,
Right.
what I'll do is if I have to cut a chicken in half, what I'll do is I'll just flip it over, you know, onto the breast, and I'll just go one side of the backbone, the other side of the backbone, then I just take the chicken and split it. And then there's the soft cartilage, the keel bone, I just rub that out with my finger, and the chicken's in half. I mean, and seriously, you'll take more time cleaning the scissors. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's like, and you know, you'll even see some chefs like use scissors, and you know, I know that they can use knives, but some of the chefs that you see
As long as you got a sharp knife.
yeah, and on PBS, they're awesome with their knife skills. And to me, Jacques Poupin probably still has the best knife skills I've ever
Yeah, he's
seen.
very good.
It's unbelievable. You know, like you see all the other guys try to act fancy. He's not fancy. He's just there's not one wasted movement of his knife.
No, right.
And
I've watched him.
exactly, and it's and Sarah Malton's also good. I mean, it's you know, and so it's you know, some pretty impressive people to watch. So
One other question.
sure.
Can you ruin a cut of meat by the way you cut it?
Yes. Yes. What you do is, for instance, a flank steak. It's perfect. The grain runs the length of it. And if you cut it against the grain, it'll be soft, very easy to chew. You cut it the opposite way, and it's going to be like
Stringy.
beef jerky. No matter how you cook it, it's going to be like
That's right.
like
Where
ripping
you
it.
cut it?
It's all, yes.
Oh.
You know, there's several cuts or something that sometimes it doesn't matter. Let's see, like a top round London broil. People love, oh my God, I love top round London broil. I really don't, because that has to be cut very, very thin and on an angle. And
My father used to do that real well.
yes, you know, and it can come out.
Because it's all meat, too.
Exactly.
There's not a lot, there's no waste on it, really.
And they're, let's see, it's, to me, it's still not a lot of flavor.
I
For-
never have a lot of flavor.
Exactly, and some people swear, oh my God, it's the best tasting thing. Is I like sirloins. If I'm gonna do a London broil, I'll do a tri-tip sirloin, which has a lot of grain in it, and has a little bit more fat, but I'll tell you what, hands down, it's, you know, and if you marinate it, you know, or I have other gadgets here, is, when I was working for U.S. Food Service, I met Andre Jacquard. He's like, in the meat business, he was very famous for his inventions of machines. He invented the tenderizer or the pinner. He come up with all different kinds of stuff. But I actually have one of his pinners. And you can, if you pin something before you marinate it, the marinade goes right through, not just on the outside. Really,
Put holes in it?
exactly, yes. Yes, every time you push it down, it puts 48 little holes in there.
The thing is, the reason you can eat steak rare, and very rare, I had a friend that used to eat it very rare.
Yes,
It's because the majority of bacteria is going to be on the surface,
exactly.
but if you pin it,
Yep.
anything that's on the surface is going into the meat, so you really can't eat it rare, because if there's some bacteria that you don't want to eat, it's now on the inside.
Exactly. So you have to make sure that the inside is cooked to 160
Correct.
if you pin it.
Yep.
Is there any other questions?
Thank you.